Andy Cairns. I play guitar and sing in the Irish rock band Therapy, and you're watching Talking Records.
We meet during your Troublegum 30th anniversary tour, and although there is a lot of tours commemorating band anniversaries, those celebrating specific albums are usually dedicated to truly significant records. So when you go back in your memory to February of 1994 and the first enthusiastic reviews, huge sales numbers and sudden spike in interest coming from every direction, how do you remember this time and in what ways it changed your life?
Well, I remember being an exciting time when we had recorded Troublegum. But if truth be told, we were so busy. We were touring, we recorded Troublegum in 4 different sections in between 2 North American tours and 2 European tours. So we didn't really have time to relax and reflect upon how the album was going to be received. When we did finally hear the album, we were very, very pleased with it. We thought it showed a great deal of uniform sound, and it sounded like one whole album. It was a headspace you could escape into. And then when it was released, the reviews came in, the sales came in, and it was significantly more than any of our previous albums. So it went from, you know, we were this, and then when Troublegum came out, the venues we played, the sales went up there. So we weren't ready for it. I mean, we knew the record company, they believed in the album, they'd put money into the promotion and stuff, but we didn't think it would do as well as it did. So it was a nice surprise, and as I said at the start, it was very exciting.
A lot was happening around you during this time. You recorded a song with Ozzy Osbourne from Black Sabbath tribute album. You were part of the cult soundtrack Javelin Bullet. You met some of your heroes and some big names at the time. And what kind of lessons did you learn observing them, like in terms of do's and don'ts of operating in a music business on a bigger scale?
Well, what I learned from meeting some of those musicians that were prominent and very, very successful was the majority of the musicians that we met then are still famous and still successful, and the majority of them weren't assholes. We met quite a lot of indie bands and other bands that were really horrible people, and they're not with us anymore. And I think there is a way that you deal with people that is respectful, that means people will want to deal with you back. That yeah, there are outliers. Some people make music and they're assholes and they keep selling those. But for our way of working, we realized that some of the people that were really famous that we thought would be assholes were really cool, and we thought, well, I remember Ozzy Osbourne saying, be nice to people on the way up because you meet them all on the way down. You know, what we do in the band is we make music, we make art, and people like it. But it's not as important as what people who work in the medical profession do, nurses, school teachers, social workers. You know, it's nowhere near the level of importance as that. So we've always tried to treat people with respect and expect to get that back, and that was one of the lessons, meeting people like that. Because we play with some very, very big names, like you mentioned Ozzy, we played with Aerosmith, Metallica, and those guys could have easily been really arrogant or not, but they weren't. And one of the lessons we learned was that not only are these bands very talented and these artists very talented, but if you treat people with respect, people are more inclined to be receptive to you in the business. And it's something we also learned from the hardcore band Fugazi, that we were big fans of. Fugazi had a rule that you don't be a dick, always treat people really, really well. And that's what we learned, and it's kind of why we're still doing it, I think.
You mentioned once that there was pressure from the label to make a Troublegum 2, but you said that if you were to do it, there would be no Therapy today.
No, we would have split up, I'm convinced. That our original drummer, Fife Ewing, he was very confused anyway about what he wanted from the band, and he thought Troublegum was too melodic. We thought it wasn't as melodic as he thought it was, you know, it wasn't a pop record. And he had it had become quite difficult to work with him, and I think if we'd have made Troublegum Part 2 with Fife, he probably would have, he left after the next album, Infernal Love. I think if we'd tried to make Troublegum Part 2, he wouldn't have either gone in the studio or he would have left halfway through the record.
he kind of vanished when it comes to music scene afterwards, right? He wasn't playing, he wasn't an active musician afterwards, right? Yeah.
No, well, we still, our manager still has in contact with him because obviously he was a big part of our life. Finances for sales come through the record company, come through our management, and our management has contact with Fife. Now, there was no big fallout. Fife just phoned me up and said, I can't do this anymore, I'm leaving. And I said, that's totally cool. And we wanted to keep the band going. But we're still in contact with him, and a while ago, a big American magazine of all things wanted to do a piece on the most influential albums of the 90s. And they wanted to do a piece on Troublegum. But the conditions were that every single member that was on the album talks to them. So our management phoned Fife, and he said, I don't want to do it. And he said, it's a time in my life I don't want to think about, but no thanks. But so we still talk to him about money and about money that he's owed, and any time a record gets a reissue, we make sure he gets paid and everything. But he has told our management that it's not a time in his life he wants to think of. And as far as I know, he no longer plays music. He might do, but not that I'm aware of.
There's so many anecdotes in your biography, like the one with Henry Rollins calling Nowhere Melody a righteous one. What did you learn observing him? What anecdotes do you remember from the time when you spent with him?
Well, I was very nervous surrounding the whole tour. It was a North American and Canadian tour, but he was a real sweetheart. And I noticed that because I didn't want to talk about music, because then I would have to say how much he meant to me. The conversations, when we did have conversations, were about things outside of music, like cultural things and all that. And he was really entertaining, and what I liked about him was his sense of humour. He had a great sense of humour, and he was really fun to be with. And his band were really hard-working. We get treated really, really well. You know, his band and crew treated us really well, and they made being on tour with him an absolute joy. And most importantly, seeing someone of his talent every single night put more than 150% into the show. Every single night, no matter if it was cold, if he wasn't feeling well. It was really influential because it showed that for that moment on stage, that's all you got out of Henry Rollins, was everything.
On the 2001's Shameless, you sing I Wanna Start Again from scratch, and I am sick and tired of going nowhere.
Yeah.
Was this in a reference to your hit single Nowhere?
It was a reference to the song Nowhere in that song because it got to the point where the backlash after Troublegum, we had a really bad fall from grace, and we would play gigs to maybe 200, 300 people, and they would just want to hear Troublegum. And everything that we tried to do, you know, we tried to make an expansive record with Semi-Detached, we tried to make a different record with Infernal Love, we tried to make a noise rock record with Suicide Pact You First. Everyone just wanted to hear sort of Troublegum again.
And how did your relationship with Troublegum change over the years, and how do you feel about it today?
That's what I've done, is I've looked at it not through my eyes, but through the eyes of the 2 million people who bought that record. And to many of those people, this record changed their lives, that's what they tell me. They've got lyrics tattooed in their arms, they've got therapy tattoos, they're in tears when we play the songs, they've played along with the songs in their bedrooms on guitar. So those songs belong to the people that bought that record, they don't really belong to us anymore. And to play them this time around after 30 years is a complete joy, because a lot of people that when that record came out were maybe 12, 13 years of age, they didn't get a chance to see therapy until later on when we were touring different albums. So those people are now older and they've got a chance to come and see Troublegum for the first time. Because people say to us, when the album was out, I was 13, it was my favourite album, but my parents wouldn't let me go to the show because I was too young. So even though it was my favourite album, I didn't get a chance to see you play it. So those people are now coming to see it. They're now 40 years of age, 45 years of age.
And they bring their children.
And they bring their children, yeah, people are bringing their kids to the show. So it's a joyous occasion, so I am really enjoying playing this song.
So if you look at the lyrical content of Troublegum, there is a lot of anger, frustration, self-doubt and longing for something. If you were to imagine a person this album is specifically about, what kind of life advice would you give to this person now when you are richer of 30 years more of your own life experience?
Well, it would be easy for me to look back now and say love yourself a bit more. But I would also be disingenuous, because you have to say listen to that person a bit more. And that's one thing I've learned as being a parent, is if someone is in trouble or someone is angry, I can easily step in and go, you shouldn't do that, that's wrong, you shouldn't do that, you should think this, you should do that. But sometimes the most important thing is to listen. And I would listen to what that person is saying now and then go, well, okay, well, here's what we can do that's positive that can make things better. But I also look at it, it was a time capsule. I mean, that song was written, the album came out when I was 28 years of age, but those songs dealt with my life from 14 up until 28. Yeah, so I think I'm very lucky in the fact I've got an outlet to write these things. Because looking back on it, growing up in the north of Ireland during what's commonly known as the Troubles, didn't really register whenever you're born into it. It's only later on when you're older, and my wife's English and she asks me about it and she goes, well, that must have been insane. We didn't know any better. You know, if you're born into the situation, you take it for granted. So I think there's like glances towards the political unrest. There's glances towards trying to find where you are in the world. And I would say to that person, just try and believe in yourself and things will get better.
I think that therapy's longevity stems from a truly independent spirit and full freedom of expression, and that is something that resonates with fans and makes your band important to them. So when you talk with people all over the world, like you mentioned earlier, like people tell you that this album changed their life, do people often share stories about how your music impacted them?
Oh, very much so. And we've got someone made us a book once. This young woman made us a book that she printed herself, filled with therapy fans worldwide, stories of how the band had changed her life. They range from things like it made me want to play the guitar. There's a famous soap opera star in the UK, came to one of our shows recently and he said, oh, I used to play in the school band, and because of Troublegum I used to play guitar and we used to play your songs. I had some people that used to have long hair that said they cut their hair short because we played metal with short hair, so they thought it was okay to have short hair and play metal. I've had one, the most touching one was in Glasgow. There was a young guy was going to go in and have a very, very serious operation to remove cancer from much of his intestine and body. And he wanted to meet me before the operation. And his favourite album was called One Cure Fits All. And he had lyrics from that album tattooed all over his body about 3 weeks before the operation to give him strength. And there's a line because God gave me strength, God keep me well. And he had all these different bits and he just wanted to show me. So the venue they brought him in, he took his shirt off and he had the therapy lyrics tattooed all over his body to give him strength for this operation. And the operation went well and he came through and they removed the cancer. But whenever he came back to show us that in Scotland, we were like, oh my God, this is incredible.
So you meet him still from time to time?
We haven't seen him in a while, but yeah, no, he came back. He's a friend of ours that knew of him. Yeah, so he's doing okay now. So.
Beautiful. Yes, I've seen this Instagram video that you posted with gifts from your fans, but they are really thoughtful gifts that they put a lot of work into. That's also to be really nice.
It is actually, it's really sweet, and we've got really great fans, and you know, quite often in the music business, it's a very selfish business. And you get people outside the concert going, hey asshole, the gig's sold out, you've got to give us free tickets. Or, you know, someone will come up and shout at you, why didn't you play my favourite song, you guys? But why didn't you play it? But every now and then you get people that come up, and when you're on tour, you're away from your family, you're exhausted, it's cold, it's too hot. For someone that's already bought a ticket and already spent thousands of euros on t-shirts and CDs and vinyl of therapy, for someone to come and make you something or bring you some food or some chocolate that they've thought of, that honestly really touches us, because it means that not only does our music touch them, but they so much so that they want to give something back, and we never ever take it for granted. We love it, and it's you know, if someone always comes up, we always take it from them and thank them for it, you know, but if we see them, because it's brilliant.
I have to ask about this iconic cover photo that is on the Troublegum.
Yes.
It was made by Irish photographer Stuart Smith. Was this photo commissioned by you for the album, or did you find it afterwards?
You mean the guy in the trash can?
Yeah.
Well, that was Stuart Smith took the photograph of a performance artist friend of ours called Nigel Rolfe. And now Nigel is very famous in performance art circles globally. He does things where he rolls around on the floor. It's all performance. And he was chatting to us about the band before Troublegum, and we said, would you ever do an album cover? And he went, well, if we've thought about doing that, he said, send me the songs and I'll see what counts. So we sent him the songs, and he sent us back an envelope with 5 photographs in it. And one of them was the guy in a dustbin, in a trash can. And it reminded us of Samuel Beckett. You know, Samuel Beckett's got a really famous play called Endgame, where famously the protagonist's 2 parents are in a dustbin on stage. It also reminds us of protest in the north of Ireland. When people used to protest, they would get lids of trash cans and slam them on the ground in the streets to make noise and protest. So we just said that's perfect. You know what I mean? The album's called Troublegum. It's influenced by everything from the Troubles to pop music to Samuel Beckett, and it looks very, very unusual. So yeah, so the actual cover itself was a performance artist called Nigel Roth, and the photographer was Stuart.
Also, I wanted to refer to your last year's album, Heart Cold Fire. I really like this title, this combination of words put together that seemingly doesn't really make sense, but in a weird way it kind of also does make sense. It comes from Irish poem, and this awareness of region that you come from is always present in your story, in your music. So what does it mean, like, to be Irish, to grow up there, to have this heart called fire?
Well, the poet Louis MacNeice, he was from East Antrim, which is near where myself and Michael are from. We were from a region called East Antrim. And heart cold fire is how he described the minerals, the actual kind of rocks that make up the shoreline in Ireland. It's basalt and mica, and they're very, very enduring, tough rocks. Now the weather in where we're from is cold. It rains all the time, very cold winters, very cold and uncomfortable winters. There's a lot of agricultural, people have to work the soil from 4 o'clock in the morning. And then there's been a lot of political unrest, so people have had to endure constant changes in politics and government and fighting. But what's come with that is a toughness and a resilience. And I think Louis MacNeice got that. It was like an endurance and toughness. And we thought, well, the band's been around for so long. We've had so many things happen that are good, but so many bad things happen too. And yet we always still managed to make music. And it was perfect, like that hard cold fire. And what made it for us was the fact it was specifically referring to people in the north of Ireland, because that's the region where that particular kind of rock is indigenous to. And it's also, if you go to somewhere like in the south of Ireland, like Cork, it's sunny and it's warmer and the climate's a lot more favourable. But where we're from, sometimes going out in the morning to do your shopping is hard work because it's so cold and so rainy. I'm breaking hearts. I'm thinking like that, I won't make any friends. Do that, forget about that. I don't want to think about anything like that. Do that, forget about that. I don't want to know about anything like that. I've got nothing to tell. Nothing really gets me left on you. I've got nothing to tell. Nothing really gets me left on you.
Thank you for watching my interview with Andy Cairns from Therapy. Next to my head you will find more links for videos on my channel, and I will see you next time.